Had almost 100 people sign up, so we'll see what kind of class shows up here. You guys can unmute yourself if you want to. If you're in a quiet spot, we can have a conversation.
You're probably gonna have a lot of people in here.
Desmond, how are you?
I'm doing great, Denny. How you doing?
We've met before, haven't we? Have we met?
No, we haven't.
Where are you from?
I'm from Washington, D.C. Where are you from?
I'm from Naples, Fort Myers, Florida. However, right now we're at our house in Alaska.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there's the view out the window there of the mountains.
Oh, man, that's amazing. So do you have, I know I watch HGTV, so this is probably a far-fetched thing, but I noticed a lot of people in Alaska had like little airplanes.
Yeah.
When they travel to the next city, something like that.
Yeah, they have little seaplanes, right? Pretty wild country. I mean, a lot of hunters up here. My wife was a hunter. She's from here, so we have a house here we visit every now and then. And yes, that is a Christmas tree in the background. We're only here a couple times a year, so we never take it down. It's Christmas year-round. There are people coming in.
Yeah, a lot. We even got people from in their cars. That's dedication right there.
Yeah. All because of COVID, we're now like Zoomers, Zooming experts. About another minute or so, we'll start. I'm gonna go and grab my screen because I want to show you some things. All right, let's see here.
Yeah, I'm in Anchorage, Alaska. So you got one way up.
Hey. There you go. Let's see how to get participants. So I've got one 2:30. It's actually 10:30 where I am. Hello, I'm Denny Grimes, and I'm a bold coach, and I've been in real estate 37 years. Got a team in Naples and Fort Myers, and right now we're in our house in Alaska, so it's only 10:30 here. It's not even lunchtime. So you guys are zooming in from all over the country. And what's interesting in how this class got formed is, obviously through the May bold pivot, where there was 40,000 people on the call. And then the August bold pivot, there was about 6, so there's almost 50,000 people. One of what I discovered, because all the coaches are in the background responding to questions or whatever that are streaming in, is that people love the idea of role-playing scripts. Actually, they embrace the idea of role play, and I know from teaching bold, a lot of people have kind of arm's length about scripts. However, I believe that I teach a version of scripting that is fun. And what I believe in is having conversations. And you'll see here in a moment, and we'll have more classes like this. Particularly, I'm going to offer a bonus class for people who sign up for October Bold. And this is my pitch for October Bold, you guys. If you've not made the commitment in your mind for it, you should do so, because number one, everybody in the past 4 years I've been a bold coach, everybody wants to take bold in October. More people want to take it than we could accommodate. However, streaming, we can do it. Why? It helps you finish 2020 strong and helps you get a leg up on 2021. One of the funniest posts I've seen on Facebook lately, you guys, is somebody posted on Facebook and had a picture of their 2020 planner, right? And they said, well, this was the biggest waste of money ever, because 2020 was kind of like nothing what we had planned. So I'm going to go through, I'm letting people in, I'm going to go through a couple different slides, explain some things about how you can become better working with clients, particularly for the market of the moment. And the market of the moment we're in, and I've done this 37 years, I'm calling this the GOAT, greatest of all time. I have never seen a market like this with all the good and no bad. And that made me say, yay, and you want to start doing burpees. However, here's the thing. The challenge is if it's the best it's ever been, and Gary says this, that, you know, we've got to prepare for the market that's coming, not the market we're in. And when you look at our market, the reason I call it the greatest of all times is because I have lived through bubble markets. You've read about bubble markets where basically, you know, you have an increasing inventory. Right now we have low inventory. We have low speculators. We don't have a lot of people buying houses, you know, 2 or 3 houses like they did in 2004, 2005. The buyers are users. And the people you're working with, there might be some investors. However, write this down. If you're unless you're in a candy booth or driving or something like this, write this down. Investors can fuel the market. It takes users to sustain it. So we're in a very rational market right now from a use standpoint. It's really not rational when it comes to volume. However, right now, it's the best market, all the good, no the bad, no bad, there's no bubble forming. The other thing that's a little bit interesting about that whole concept is this. I just posted this on the Bold Facebook page, is that now's the time to make hay, you guys. If this is the best, it doesn't get any better. Therefore, what we have to do is and make sure we're capitalizing on this market right now. And I'm going to help you identify what I think are some potential listings you could go for and give you the scripts, because that's what this class is about. We're going to be scripting. I'm going to give you some scripts for the market of the moment. So I don't know if you're new or experienced. However, if there's experienced agents on here, if you've got less than 10 years experience, you've never seen a buyer's market. And this certainly isn't one right now, right? So I like to come up with word pictures or pictures with words to help you kind of get the message across that, you know what, now's the time to make hay because the sun always doesn't shine. I came up with this by accident earlier in the week. I was thinking about this market and how it's working, and everyone's gone to amusement parks and you've ridden a roller coaster, right? And it kind of, when it goes up that hill, it goes click, 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 click. And as long as there's clicks being heard, you know, you're okay. However, that the moment it gets silent, the ride changes, gets different, right? And right now, sellers are winning, and you know what? They shouldn't take it for granted. Right now, agents are winning. We shouldn't take it for granted because it's going to change. So my latest analogy is this. Here's the thing. Imagine people in your phone, people in your sphere that you know, we'll talk about these people in just a minute, have won the lottery. And maybe that lottery, and I'm not talking about Powerball where they're at $500 million. Let's say that their ticket is worth $25,000 or $50,000. You know, the tickets are only good for 2 years and then they expire. So what if it was worth $50,000 and it was going to expire here in the next 30 or 45 days, and you happen to know that? Would you pick up the phone and call them and say, listen, the lottery ticket, I know you won this. I remember you won it on my birthday, so that's why I can keep track of this. It's going to expire if you don't turn it in. How many of you would make the call? Well, that's what's going on right now in a real estate world with potential sellers, because they're on the fence. Many sellers are not participating in this marketplace because of fear, and I'm going to give you the scripts to get them off the fence, and we can have a conversation and role play. Well, also, whatever situation you'd like to role play, we'll role play it right here. This will be recorded, and if you want to copy the recording, there'd be a way that I can make it available to you. Okay, so you don't have to worry about writing all the notes right now. Here's the first thing I want to get across to you. Number one, the market's awesome right now. I'm going to give you 7 reasons why sellers should be in the market now. And here they are. Don't worry about taking a picture until you get them all up here together, right? Number one, as you know, this is kind of like a duh moment, inventory shortage. Well, when there's a shortage of inventory, that's an advantage to sellers. Secondly, there's upward pressure on price. What's good about that, although we're hearing about homes selling for $20,000 or $30,000 over asking price, prices are not totally out of control yet. I've seen that before. I'm not seeing that now, although rising prices is an advantage for the seller. Number 3, there's less competition because some sellers are still on the fence. So if sellers are on the fence and you can have a conversation with one of your customers or clients and get them off the fence and into the market, that's going to be to their advantage. Why? Because there's other sellers on the fence. Less competition. Next, the buyers are in a market are more serious and motivated. Because of health concerns and maybe other restrictions, you don't find people going out, driving around and looking at open houses, you know, all weekend long when they're 4, 5, 6 years away. The buyers in the market right now are more serious and motivated, and that is an advantage to sellers. Not a lot of looky-loos, not a lot of brick kickers. Next, as you know, there's been a spike in buyer activity. COVID has held people in. Now people can come out and basically they feel a little safer in most states. People and the economy is coming back. And of course, as you know, we have record low interest rates. All of this plays into the hand advantage seller. And lastly, like I said before, this is what Gary says, it's not going to last forever. So if you want to take a picture of that, that's going to be ammunition, because I'm going to show you how you can take that information right there, post it to your socials to make your phone ring. I'll show you some examples. I believe I have it in this slideshow. If not, I'll make sure I tell you about it. So 2 things I know for sure is right now, if you can find a listing out there, it will be a sale. Can you say cha-ching? Secondly, I'm going to let you know that every one of you know what I call a shadow seller. So let's go through, get out something to make some notes, because I want you to be thinking about people in your mind that fall into these categories, because I'm going to give you the script to make the call. It may generate a conversation, which will lead to a listing, which will lead to a closing, and wouldn't that be great? So here we go. Shadow sellers come in 5 different categories. I'll go through this list really fast, then I'll break it down, then show you the scripts that we can use for that, okay? Number 1, sellers that should be on the market, sellers that could be on the market, sellers that used to be on the market, sellers that just might be on the market, and also you might have some sellers out there. The 5th category is you might have some listings right now that aren't selling, and that's a conversation you can use to get them back into the market. Let's talk in terms of the first category of the shadow seller. These are people that should be on the market. These are people who stopped the process. Maybe the last part of 2019 you were working with them. The first part of 2020, they're getting a house ready. They might have even listed the house. And when COVID hit, they stopped the process and didn't put their house on the market or pulled it off the market. Listen, they wanted to, I mean, no one really likes to sell their house, right? However, they did want the benefit of what the sale would do. They can move north, they can move south, they can get bigger, they can get smaller. They still may have that motivation. They're just waiting for someone to pick up the phone and have a conversation with them to let them know it's going to be okay. Now is a great time for sellers to be in the market. I just gave you 7 reasons why, right? So those are sellers that stop the process. So look back in your database, in your memory, who do you know that might fit that category? The second is the should be, or the could be's. These are the ones that I want you to look forward. These are people you've been talking to that may be looking at 6, 8, 10, 12 months away or so from selling. Now, many times, if you have the conversation with them, and I'll give you the script here in a second, if you say, hey, look, if you could basically win in this jackpot market, would you consider selling sooner versus later? And I know that they may want to sell her 6 or 8 months, or maybe next May because Johnny's going to graduate high school. Here's the thing. In this market right now, not only can sellers, and I like to say white hot, write that word down, use that with your sellers. When in a white hot market where sellers are getting tippy top of the market, there's buyers out there that will go ahead and pay them, the sellers, their price, and maybe allow them to stay in the house, maybe pay rent or who knows what, until Johnny graduates high school. They can have their cake and eat it too. Number 3, these are the sellers that used to be on the market. Now, this could be expireds in your MLS or terminates in your MLS. In fact, look back. I mean, people that terminated their listing in maybe March, where 20% of the sellers in my market in our MLS in Fort Myers basically took their homes down. Well, now the market's different. The feeling of COVID is different than it was in March, right? There's a lot more that we know about it. They might be willing to step back into the market if somebody would just give them a call. And the last one is sellers that just might be on the market. COVID's affected a lot of businesses. It's affected a lot of attitudes about people's willingness to travel. I'm in South Florida. We have a lot of people from the north. We call them snowbirds, affectionately. They may not want to travel to Florida anymore. They may not feel safe. Maybe their business has been shut down in New York or New Jersey or Minnesota or something like that, and they don't have the extra money. So they might want to sell their second home or condo in this great market. Or you might have investors that want to sell at the top of the market. Gary Keller sold a couple of his properties just in the last couple of months. Why? He's going to cash and waiting for more opportunity in the future. Again, these are great conversations to have to pull a should-be seller off the fence and into the market. So what are the scripts? So I've got some very easy scripts for you to use, and these are scripts for market of the moment. Now, I'm going to stop just for a second. I'm looking at the screen right now. I'm not looking at the camera, so I trust if you're playing Candy Crush, just take a second and stop. This is worth remembering. You learned this in bold. Nothing works unless we do. Unless you pick up the phone, nothing works. No one's going to come into your home and knock on your desk and say, look, I want to list my home. However, the other thing is this. Everything works if we do. So you have to be willing to have the mindset you're coming from contribution and you're going to make these calls. And I'm telling you, I'm imploring you, based on my 37 years, the probability of having a successful call, your success rate on your calls right now are going to be greater than any other time I remember. Why? Because these shadow sellers, these scripts are going to make people think. There's a lot of people who want to move from where they are. And if you have the conversation, you let them know now's the time. And instead of them watching the news 24/7, which is basically going to make them paralyzed from moving, you're going to have some business. This script right here, I know 2 people that have pulled in $1 million listings by just this script. First of all, in bold, we call this the open face sandwich, meaning there's 2 reasons for our call. Number 1, hey, look, I want to check on you, see how you're doing. Now notice a ... That script is meant to have a conversation. I would start with people in your phone, people in your database that you have a relationship with. Come from contribution and you'll never lose. They may not buy or sell right now, no worries. You're coming from contribution, you made a dent or a contact in your database and help with that relationship. The second reason for my call is this. I want to let you know there is an extreme shortage of homes for sale, and I wonder if you're interested in hearing the 7 reasons why sellers should be on the market now. The guy, one of my guys who goes to my class in New York, he was calling around his listing that wasn't even in his sphere. It was just a neighborhood call, and he said, yes, I'd like to have a conversation because I think I might like to list my house. Anyway, total out of the blue, used that script, got the appointment, got the $1.2 million listing, and he's got it now under contract double-ended. Somebody on my wife's team, I heard, basically used a similar script, almost identical to that, and the seller said, well, if you can give me $1 million, I'll sell. And he said, well, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll come over and let's look at this. Listed it for 1.25 just by making the call. Listen, you guys can have these scripts in your computer and your phone. They're not going to do you any good unless you use the scripts to call. These are scripts of the market of the moment. These are should-be sellers. Remember, they're itching to get back into the moment. Now, just because they're in your phone and potential sellers, unless you make the call, they may be somebody else's listing. Come from contribution, make the call. Next, you're going to have the could-be's. These are the sellers that basically are in the future. So that you might want to call and let them know. Notice they're all identical. The scripts are all identical except for the gold, the yellow lettering. Care and concern call up front. Secondly, blah, blah, blah. If you could sell your home for more money now, would you entertain selling now versus in the future? That'll be a yes, no, or maybe. Either way, you win because you've had at least a call in the conversation. That's the could-be seller. So take a picture of that. Next. These are the used-to-be's. These are the ones that were on the market once before and decided that they either expired or basically they terminated. Same call except for the yellow. And if you could sell your home for more money in this market, would you entertain listing your home again? Believe me, 30%. Gary says 30% of the agents went to the couch during COVID, and a lot of them are still sitting there. This is a perfect opportunity for you guys to pick up market share that you're not going to have to give up. Let's have a conversation about the listings that just might be on the market. This is the one that basically they might have had investment property or they had a second home. Again, the same care and concern call. And if you could sell your vacation home, if you could sell your duplex, if you could sell your investment property for more money in this market, would you entertain selling today? That's the just might be seller. So this is the overpriced seller. Now, if you have a listing right now, and I trust there's people, I got roughly 50 people, 45 people on the call, you guys probably have some listings. If you have some listings that are not selling right now, then this is exactly how your sellers feel. Hey, there's a big party going on and my agent didn't invite me. You know why they're not selling, right? Because you've got the wrong price. So this script is care and concern up front. Secondly, I'm concerned that you're going to miss out on a sudden uptick in the market because we're not positioned properly. Now we talk about scripts, words matter. Notice you never say price change, it's all about positioning. Do you know that there's 3 outcomes when you list a home? Would you like to know what they are? And there are only 3 outcomes. In fact, I don't know that I added to this show what they are. However, if you want to make a note, if you would like to know what the 3 outcomes are, I have a PDF for you. It's free. Go to Denny Grimes Mastermind. That's on Facebook. And you'll see the 3 outcomes and what they are. If you have a listing or take a listing and there's low to no showings, that's outcome number 1. That means you're way too high. Secondly, you may have showings and no offers. That means you're a little bit too high. Outcome number 3, it sells. That is a beautiful presentation. That is a great seller script that you can have at the listing appointment. And every time you follow up with that seller, you go through the same scripts. Like, for example, I don't know if anyone wants to role play with me. If they're in a quiet spot, just unmic yourself and I'll just role play. You be my seller. I'll show you exactly how to use this script, because getting a listing is one thing. You certainly want to be able to maintain it and service it during the time it takes to get it sold. Any brave volunteers out there will just play with me for a little bit. Out of the 50 people?
I'll volunteer.
Okay, great. I don't know what name came up. Who are you?
Dot.
Dot. Okay,
Dot
Dot.
Hicks.
Hey, Dot. So we just listed your house last week, right? And let's just assume that, and here's something, service and the listing we talked about. Here's the thing is that how do you call your seller in a hot market like this? And Dot, we only had 1 listing. You guys, here's my advice after doing this a long time and losing a lot of listings because I didn't do it right. Make sure you have a plan to service the listing. You set the appointment on the follow-up calls when you list the home. So Dot, when I listed your home, I said what is today? Wednesday, Thursday. It's Thursday. So I'm going to do my follow-up calls with you every Thursday at 2:30. Is that going to work for you, Dot?
Yeah, that's fine.
Awesome. Because the number 1 reason people lose their listings or the sellers lose faith in their agents is because lack of communication. So we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. So it's been a week. Hey, Dot, it's 2:30 on Thursday. It's been a week. Your home's been on the market. We've had 1 showing. Now, again, you may not have the sheet in front of you. And what I'll ask is, what outcome are we at? It wasn't outcome number 3. So it's outcome number 1, low to no showings, or outcome number 2, showings and no offers. So if you had 1 showing, most likely you're in what? Outcome number 1, right, Dot?
Yes.
So here's the thing. So basically the market is speaking to us and it's a positioning issue. I know it's only been a week. I'm letting you know that it's a little concerning to me because here's the other thing, you guys, how many homes are going on the market where you are? And inside of a week, you've had many showings and many offers already sold. So if you have a listing that's on the market that has not had that activity and it's not sold, chances are, again, depends on price range and other circumstances, it may be overpriced. So you're always being proactive, calling Dot. So Dot, here's the thing, we're going to have to reposition because the market's saying no. Are you ready to reposition at this point?
I'm a little hesitant, Denny, because, there's a certain amount that I was hoping that we would be able to walk away with.
Well, I understand. Well, it's only been a week. So I tell you what, we can go another week and I'll give you a call next week. How's that?
Okay, that'll be fine.
See, at least you're having the report. Now, again, you're going to give them more information. For example, this isn't going to be necessarily a listing class. I just want you, when you get the listing, to be able to service it until it goes under contract, because sellers are already getting a feel that this market's moving really fast. Is it possible your seller might be a little aggressive on price? Yes. And you may give them the benefit of the doubt on that. So you list it a little bit high. However, here's the thing, you guys. How do you maintain the conversation so they don't get upset with you and then eventually want to cancel or terminate the listing? So that'll be another class we'll work on as we work into Bold October. Again, we're going to offer, a lot of the coaches are going to offer value-added things other than just the Bold material. I'll teach you how to basically price a home in an upward moving market. And you know what, and even work with a more aggressive seller, a strongly aggressive seller in an upward moving market. So go to my website, Denny Grimes Mastermind, not my website, I'm sorry, my Facebook page, and grab that form. It's not even branded. You could put your branding on it. It's an amazing sheet, and we'll have a follow-up call on that. So we're going to get in some objection handling right now, because that's the purpose of the call. And here's where I'm not really watching. Let's see here just a second. I can probably change this. I've let everybody in. Because I'm doing this slideshow, I'm not watching the chat. So if you have an objection you would like, it'd be better not to chat it. just tell me. And I'm going to go to screen here in a moment. I want you to take a picture of this screen, because every time when you have an objection, this was even taught in bold, in other sales classes for that matter, this is a magic formula. It's basically when you hear an objection, don't get freaked out, because here's the thing. If they weren't interested, they wouldn't object. They would just move on, correct? So you want to acknowledge the objection, isolate it, address it, and close. Now, my technique is question-based. I like asking questions, because here's the thing. When you tell someone that's selling, people don't like selling and you're pushing away. When you ask, you're actually leading them into a discussion, into discovery. So Dot, do you have a second? Can you go back on mic?
Yes.
Okay, so we've not practiced this, right?
No, we haven't.
I don't even know where in the world you are. What state are you in?
Maryland. Okay,
awesome. So here's the power of questions. And so when we go through the rest of this class and the other script classes, my style is going to be question-based, and you're going to find out most bold coaches, you're going to hear them asking great questions. So there is no bad questions. There's only good questions and great questions. So Dot, let me demonstrate this. So Dot, let me ask a question. What month were you born?
March.
March. Now, that was a good question because I learned something. I learned that she was born, not only lives in Maryland, she was born in March. It wasn't a great question because I don't think she learned anything. You already knew that, right, Dot?
Right.
So now watch this question. Now, Dot, okay, I'm going to give you a magic wand. You can be born in any month of the year you want, except for March. What month would you choose to have your birthday in?
June.
Now, that was rather fast. Now, that could be a great question normally. Now, she was pretty fast on it. Normally, you'll hear, there was just a nano pause there. Most people, when you ask them a great question, what they're doing is processing. The difference between a great question and a good question is a good question, I learned something, they don't. A great question is, I learned something and they learned something. And it's interesting. We'll go into the role play. Here's a main point, all right? This is a main point. There's a bold law that says logic makes them think what? Emotions act. Mm-hmm. Many people right now, the sellers on the fence, are not acting because of emotion. Their logic may say get off the fence. Their fear is keeping them on the fence. So if you can call and ask them the question, have a conversation with them, and start asking the right kind of questions, what they have to do in a conversation is they have to talk back to you. They have to verbalize what they're feeling. So when they verbalize that, they process it through their mind. It goes out their mouth, into their ear, back into their brain, and is being looped back to them in logic. And what's interesting, particularly when someone's balled up in emotion, that's why they have therapists, why to talk through it, because now they're starting to talk through their feelings and getting back on the logical side. And many times they'll say, well, I guess that doesn't make any sense. And if you have a couple sitting side by side, they're going to say, well, that doesn't make any sense, honey. Why do we? Yeah, So anyway, there's a lot of psychology in that. Last thing I want you to notice on this slide is number 2. This is where most agents kind of goof up a little bit when handling an objection with a client. They hear an objection, they want to tackle it. They feel you're like a football player, a defensive back, there's a running back. I'm going to go tackle them. What you want to do is you want to make sure you isolate the objection. In other words, is it possible if somebody gives you an objection, they may have other objections? So what you want to do is have them offload all their objections first. And I have a little graphic here I want you to show you. Excuse me, right there. Unload and then unpack. And it's just common sense. So if you go to the grocery store, you don't take 2 bags in, put it on the kitchen counter, put all the things away, put the ketchup in the refrigerator and go back and get some other bags, do you? No. You unload the car. The same thing is, and here's a trick that no one really slows you down to learn, is you want to offload all the concerns at one time. So you understand what really is going through their mind at the time. If you don't do that, you answer an objection, you may never get back to the conversation of them telling you and verbalizing other things that are on their mind. Or if you're dealing with a couple, maybe the quiet one isn't talking yet. And you want to make sure you get those objections Okay, so it's very important. And I have one more little picture that I want you to get a hold of, so help you remember it. Remember, before you answer the objections, make sure you get to the center of the Tootsie Pop. And we'll demonstrate that here in just a second. So when you have objections, and we can deal with anything you want. I know that basically this is, when you Google the top objections, this one comes up in the top 10, for example. You know, I have a friend in the business, or I feel obligated to use the agent that, you know, that sold me the home. So for example, I can demonstrate unless you have another one. In fact, I'm going to just do this for a second. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see you guys. Is there anyone there that would like to role play with me on this? Or is there another objection you'd like to role play that would be pertinent and we can demonstrate the formula? I can see you guys now, and I can see the chat if you want to chat. Yes, the recording of today's session is available. I'll make sure you remind me to let you know. So
these are objections to listing now or objections to signing with you?
Well, they could be either. I mean, this one here is basically that maybe you're at the kitchen table, and I like to have, there's lead generation questions. Like, for example, the scripts that I gave you up front for the shadow sellers, those are all lead gen call scripts. And basically what I'm now you're at the table. That will help you get the appointment. This is an objection that would probably come up. It could come up on the phone. However, it may come up at the kitchen table. So if you'd like me to do that one, would that be beneficial if I do it? So you're actually Park, thanks so much. And I don't know, you're Helen, right?
Yes, I'm Helen.
Helen, you're coming through loud and clear. Would you like to be the seller that basically gave me that objection?
Oh, and tell me again what the objection was, because I was thinking of a different objection. So
you have
tell me real quick.
You feel obligated to list with your friend or another agent.
Okie dokie, sure. Yep.
All right, so so we're at the table and say, so Helen, here I'm going to demonstrate this. So I'm going to acknowledge, I understand. Now inside you may not be like understanding, you're like, oh. However, you got to acknowledge and make them feel comfortable. Now let me isolate. This is the isolation part. So other than the fact you're obligated to your friend to list your home, is there any other reason that would keep you from doing business with me today?
Well, I'm not 100% sure that I should list right now. But if I did, I need to do it with my friend, because I told them I would.
Okay, so are we at the center of the Tootsie Pop yet? You don't know. She just listed something else. Like she said, okay, I'm not sure now is the right time. So, okay, I understand that too. So other than the fact that you're obligated to your friend and you're a little bit concerned about the timing of listing, is there anything else that would keep you from putting your home on the market today?
I'm a little bit worried about what I will be able to move into. Since you said there are so few houses out there right now.
By the way, that right there, what Helen said, is the #1 request that we're getting across the board, because many sellers want to move out of their house. They're really concerned because it's great it's a hot market for a seller. It's not great it's a hot market for a buyer. So what Helen just said, you guys may have had to deal with. That's #3, right? So I'm making notes because I practice question-based listening in hands. You've got to listen, you guys. So that's #3 thing she said. So worried, moving in to house. Okay. So I understand basically, you've got a friend and, you're worried about the timing right now. And again, you're concerned about moving into something. Is there anything else that's holding you back? Notice I'm asking the same question a different way. I'm attempting to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop.
Yeah, gee, Denny, I really can't think of anything else.
Thank goodness, because we're at #3, right? We're only going to have like a 20-minute role play. So here's the thing. Now, I'm going to stop here just a second because you guys are going to be on the phone. I'm going to offer this other classes, and we'll do this for you guys, okay? I'm going to offer the Bold, particularly go to Bold October. We'll have a special class. You'll learn. I want you to understand what I just did there. How many of you have made the mistake in the past when she said, I got a friend in the business, feel like you have to tackle that because she brought it up? And here's the thing, if you'd have tackled that and you think I did a good job of tackling that and she's still not listing, well, the reason is most likely because you've not dealt with the other 2 yet. You think there's only one, all right? Look, when there's a dust bunny under the bed, there's probably more than one. So you want to get all the dust bunnies out, right? So now here's the secret of the next question. Now, everything they say has equal weight. So Helen, the three things you said, the friend, the business, concerned about the right time right now, and concerned about moving in, having a house to move into, which one of those is probably the most important to you right this second?
I think I'm really most worried that I won't have a place that I can, find to move into.
Now I know we're a role playing, however, that's a very real response. Now here's the thing. Maybe the friend isn't really the issue. So okay, so I get that. And they may have more than one thing that's important to them. Well, they might say, hey, look, I gave you three. I got three. Generally speaking, I find that there is one that's more important to you. So if we could move past that, if we could show you a way that you can get from this house to where you want to go and get the number you want for your home, would you feel comfortable moving forward with me today?
Well, I'd be more comfortable. I still don't know what to do about my friend, though. I've known her for a long time. I don't want to hurt her feelings.
I got that. So which one would you like to talk about first?
Well, how do we make sure that I have a place to live if I sell my house?
Okay. Now, one thing I want you guys to notice, have I told her anything yet? Have I started just gushing and spraying her with all the knowledge and days on the market and square footage analysis and CMAs and thumping our chest of how many homes you sell every hour? No. Listen, understand, if you want to help someone, if someone calls you and say, listen, I'm coming to your house for a party and I'm kind of turned around, I don't know how to get there, what would be your natural first question? Well,
where are
you calling me? There you go. Write that down, because if we want to help sellers or buyers get to where you want them to get, we've got to know where they are first. You wouldn't get on the phone and start yelling all kinds of different directions, turn right, turn left, all this other stuff, would you? Because you don't know where they are. Questions will help you discover where they are. So this is how we're going to do it. So now her number one concern is, I don't have a place to go. So listen carefully to this. Let's forget about the friend just for a moment, because you're going to have to deal with this with many sellers. Understand, people don't want to sell their house. Selling their house equals root canal. It's a process they don't enjoy. Unless you're into pain, you don't like a root canal either. You're looking to get rid of the pain in your mouth. They're looking to go into whatever they want to go into. They want to go bigger, they want to go smaller, they want to go north, they want to go south. There's some reason they want to go through this, quote, root canal. Y'all get me, Vern? And the number one thing we should do, and this is a mistake a lot of the newer agents make, and some of the more experienced agents, they gloss over the motivation of why they want to get there. Understand why they're going. Why are they calling you? Where's the pain? And understand it. Not only they want to move to Atlanta. Why do they want to move to Atlanta? What's that going to do with them? How's that going to help their family? What kind of emotions would you have if you want to live close to your grandkids, that you're going to be able to go and drive, pick up your granddaughter from school every day and take your son to hockey practice or your grandson to hockey practice? Well, tell me how that makes you feel. I won't spend a lot of time on that, because I'm laying the groundwork here. If you wonder why your scripts aren't working, number one, you may be giving them the wrong directions, or you're not appealing to their emotion. So let me ask you, Helen, are you able? Write these steps down. Is she a seller? Yes, we have new construction as an objection too. So I'll get to that. Is she a seller or a buyer? I don't know. Because Helen, let me ask you a question. Can you buy the house you want to buy without selling your house?
There's a good chance, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then now I have to determine which way she wants to go. Now, if she would have said no, you're talking to a seller. You must solve the seller problem first, then the buyer problem. All right, so you could buy, so basically you could say you could buy a house without selling, correct?
Yes, I could, depending on the house, of course.
I'm sorry?
Depending on the house, of course.
Sure, all right, so what would you rather do? Would you rather buy first, get settled, then sell your house? Or would you rather sell first and then worry about buying?
I kind of like the option of buying something so I know I'm got a place to go, and then selling would be, I wouldn't even have to be there when it was being sold.
Now, here's the thing. You wouldn't, unless you ask that question, you would automatically think, unless you went into questions, well, I've got to get her sold in order to buy. When she said, I could buy, well, what would you rather do? Now you carry on the conversation is, okay, so let's talk in terms. So if I can, can we talk in terms of how I can get you into the house you want?
Yeah, sure, of course.
All right. Now, again, this is a real role play. Do you think maybe I have a friend in the business might raise its ugly head now?
Could, yep. But I told her I would list my house. I didn't tell her that I would, use her to buy my next house.
Wow, isn't that interesting? And sometimes we assume that she was going to use them all the time. In fact, I fell into that. I should have asked her. So you feel obligated to list your house, not to buy a house, right? And that should have been a question I would ask. And therefore, so are we prepared to move forward so I can get you into the house? That and I can understand what she wants to get into something smaller, right?
Yeah.
So are y'all tracking with me on the process of this? Now let's just reverse it a little bit, Helen, and I want you to be the seller that has to sell first.
Okay.
So let me ask you, Helen, and you want to stay in the same area? It doesn't really matter. So you're moving somewhere, and why are you moving? What's your motivation?
Oh yeah. There's three grandchildren, and I definitely want to be closer.
I totally understand that. So again, for time's sake, I'm not going to dwell there. However, I would dig on that a little bit. Tell me that, what's their ages, blah, blah, blah. Again, I'm not going to go into, or do they like finger painting? Get out of that crap, okay? At least understand certain things about why she's doing it. All right, so, and have you been shopping? What city are you moving to?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Just we'll pick something that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Yeah, sure. I'll move to Atlanta.
Okay, awesome. So have you been doing any shopping online, looking around at houses that might meet your needs in Atlanta?
Yeah, I have been actually poking around online a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so let's assume that I have an expansion team in Atlanta, or I'd prefer. So are you seeing homes that meet your needs in your price range?
Yep. As a matter of fact, not a lot, but there's one or two that I think could work. But I have to sell my house first.
Right. Now, why do you think I ask her if she's been shopping and if she's finding homes in her price range? Why do you think? Anyone want to speak up? Why am I asking that? Desmond,
to find out if she's working with an agent.
Well, that would be secondary. Absolutely, Dee. What I want her to do is I want her to have a sense of confidence. I want to make sure that she feels confident that what she's looking for exists. Because how motivated of a seller will you have if where she's going or what she wants doesn't exist out there? You think that might be a stumbling block to being a motivated seller. So she's seeing things out there, and so have you seen anything you liked so far, Helen?
Yeah. Like I said, I am downsizing, but I still want to have room for, when the grandchildren stay over. So I not a lot, but I think, I think there was a couple things that look promising.
So I'm going to go, I've gone the screen share here. I want you to take down this. I got a bunch of things here. I can't get to this right all at once. I want you to write down the script here this is what I call the meat thermometer. This is one you want to use sometime in your conversation with buyers or sellers to find out where they are, right? Remember, if they're hey, I'm coming over to your house, how do I get there? Well, where are you? This is it. Based on your opinion of the market, and there's no right or wrong answer, do you feel the market's working in your favor or working against you? This is an awesome question. This is one of those great questions that's going to cause them to think and articulate it. So watch, I'm going to give Helen the question. Helen, you have to sell first, then buy. So let me ask you a question. There's no right or wrong answer. Do you think the market's working in your favor or working against you right now?
Well, I have a sense that on the selling, when I sell my house, it's in my favor, and I don't feel completely sure that on the other side that that it is, because there aren't a lot of things that would work. And seems like as soon as I notice something, it's gone. So that's a problem for me, I think.
Okay, I understand. And so now at least we know what's going through her mind. Believe me, don't assume everybody has the same understanding of the market as you do. Because they may say, hey, I think it's probably worked in my favor right now. However, with the election coming up, I think it's going to go the other way. And so now you know you have urgency on your side. Here's the other thing, you guys, is when you're talking with people, and I always use as you look at the chessboard and you're evaluating where they are. She just articulated something it's pretty significant, and that is, let me stop share here and I'm going to come back to you guys. In the market right now, are your sellers winning when they sell, and they're maybe then they have to go back and become a buyer in a buyer's market, right? So watch and see if this raises its head, because I'm going to say something and see if it makes sense to you. Many times sellers or buyers want something, and yes, that's a plus. However, there's a minus on the other side. Like many times a seller may want to sell their home, yet have an unrealistic price. And so your conversation is, well, it's not happened here yet with Helen. Helen, I mean, let's assume she has an unrealistic price. So basically, if you're asking more than the market will bear, then I guess you're saying you want to stay there, right? Oh no, I'm going to Atlanta to be with our grandkids. Okay, then we're going to have to position it right to sell. Well, I got a certain number I want. I got that. Well, if it's more than the market's going to bear, the market will say no. So that means you're going to stay, right? Well, I'm not going to stay. I want to. You see, here's the thing: if you're watching a ball game and you want Cheetos and you're sitting on the couch and there's no one around, you're going to have to get up and get Cheetos. Well, I don't want to get up. Well, then you're not getting Cheetos. Well, I want Cheetos. Then get up and get them. You see, we have to help people understand. It's sometimes you're making the decision to stay. Well, I can't stay. Well, then you're going to have to be competitive on price. So here's the thing. If a seller does not want to be selling in this, buying in this market, are you saying I'm just going to go there? So I understand it's going to be, you're going to win when you sell, and you might have to work a little harder when you buy, right, Helen?
Yes, I guess that's right, based on everything I'm understanding now.
Well, the alternative would be you could wait till the market is hard to sell. So you're going to get, 75% of what you would get today in your house. However, it would be easy to buy. Which one of those would you rather do?
Oh no, it's always better to have the money in hand, for sure.
Now, I'm not saying I would use that card right now. I'm only demonstrating to you, if they don't like the market they're in, it's going to be hard to buy. Well, wait then. Wait until the market tanks and you can get 50% of your value for your house, and then you can go save money when you buy. Would you rather do that? No, you're giving them the alternative, and the alternative is worse. Listen, when we're having a conversation, and I never used this term. I've heard it for years. I forget about it. If you have commission breath and you're there to quote, sell, 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 it's not going to work out really good. So here's the, I'll finish this up, and I want to do one role play from a buyer standpoint. So Helen, so here's the thing. If you want to be a buyer, then that means we have to sell first, correct?
Yes.
All right. Now let me ask you. So if forget the friend just for a moment. This just came up in a role play. A seller was willing to list the house. However, the agent didn't talk to the seller about when an offer came in a few days later, the seller wouldn't sign an offer because there was nowhere to go. Have the conversation. So Helen, let me ask you a question. Is that okay? So do I have your permission to sell your home quickly?
Well, if we're getting top dollar, sure.
Okay. Well, the reason I ask that is many times in this market, particularly if I sell the seller's house quickly, they think I've underpriced it, and clearly you're going to see that's not going to be the case. Or they think that I sold it so fast I should discount my commission. So you know what I tell those sellers? If it'll make you feel better, if you think I've earned my fee by selling it slow, I'll sell it slow just to make you feel better. How's that? Now, so if I were to bring you an offer that was acceptable to you a week from today, would you be prepared to sell it?
Yeah, but we still have to solve the problem of where I'm going, but I guess I could figure something out.
All right. Well, for the people that I just had this happen on my team. So in this marketplace right now, let's say the seller is hesitant of signing. I would say, Helen, how would you like to have your cake and eat it too?
Of course, everybody does, right?
How would you like, and I like top dollar, write that word down. It's actually two. And I like white hot. How would you like to get top dollar in this white hot market? And we can specify that the buyer of your home will allow you to lease back your home for up to 3 months in order so you could find the right house to move into in Atlanta.
Wow, would they do that?
Well, it won't happen unless they ask for it. However, if I could do that for you, are you ready to move forward with me today?
Wow, that would be great. Yes.
So any ahas? I have one question that came in. Do you ever bring up new construction as an objection handler too? I don't understand totally the question. If you want to classify, if you want to specify or clarify that, that'd be awesome.
Yes, I have no problem clarifying. Thank you.
Yeah.
My question is, when the seller is continuously saying they're worried about not having anywhere to live and or not wanting to be in a bidding war, is using a new construction a good objection handler? Because technically, if they qualify based on credit and income, they aren't competing.
Well, okay, or Mercedes, I'm still not following. How would that be? How would I use that? So how would you use that if that came up? So give me clarity in your situation.
My thought process is, if they're saying, hey, I'm worried about finding a place to live because, you know, low inventory or multiple offer situation, could we suggest, what about, have you thought about a new construction property? People don't always go that route. So I wanted to kind of see a way to throw it in there in a script.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, number one, that was you did it right there.
Oh, okay.
It was a question. So Helen, you know, let's say she's moving in town in Atlanta. It's too far away. Don't do that. So have you considered a new home, Helen?
Oh, gee, no, it didn't cross my mind.
There you go. Well, was that an option for you?
Well, I guess so. Yeah, I just never even thought of that.
I mean, Mercedes, I mean, it's just a simple question. You find that helpful?
I think I overthought it until I actually said it out loud.
Yeah, exactly.
I only see one problem in that, actually, is the fact that new construction, if it's ready, then it's fine. But if it's pre-construction, then they can't sell their house until they have a closing date or a fixed move-in date for the new construction.
Well, yes and no. I mean, that's kind of a mindset issue. So here's the thing. Is it possible in this market you can find a buyer that will go ahead and pay them top dollar in this white hot market and allow the sellers to stay there until their new construction's finished?
Yeah.
Change
yes.
your
same objection handler, basically.
Yes, absolutely. Now for you guys, are you working with buyers in a multiple offer situation? Are you working with buyers? I'd like to go through a script right now to help you win, even if your buyers don't. Fair enough?
Yep.
All right, so here we go. And who would like to be a buyer for me? Come on, I'll enter you into the Tickets to Greece. I love that movie.
I'll be a buyer. It's Desmond.
Who is it?
Desmond.
Desmond. All right, here we go. Write this down, you guys, and this will be, we'll be able to finish this, and then our time will be up, and I'll let you know when the next class is. Here's this. When you work with buyers and sellers, write this down. Set expectations. Don't set prices. When you set numbers, you got DNA in the transaction, and many times the buyers or sellers, if they don't get what the number you suggested, and they don't get the house because of the number you suggested, they've got to blame someone, and it might be you. And if it's you, you may not get to work with them again. So, Desmond, this is going to be your script. I like your home and want to make an offer. What price do you suggest? So we're going to start with that. And let me give you the formula, okay? First of all, if you go back to my generation, that's what I call a Danger Will Robinson question. They're asking you what number they should offer. Here's the thing. I want you to get schooled in your scripts where you don't give them a number. Because number one, do you know what the best number is for that house that's going to sell in this market? Do you have any earthly idea? I don't think so, unless you're clairvoyant. So here is the conversation I want in the mindset I want you to have. Let me just go to this slide right here. So Desmond, as you know, we've been looking at different houses, you know, and I'll ask you to meet thermometer, okay, up front, based on your opinion of the market as a buyer. Is it working in your favor or against you, Desmond?
No, not right now.
Right. I mean, homes are selling fast, aren't they?
Yes.
So here are the rules. The first question I want to ask you, Desmond, do you want to make offers on houses or do you want to own one?
Right now, I want to own a house.
Awesome. So in this market, which you had said is a seller's market, which means there's more buyers than sellers. Yes. I want you to think of the asking price is not the asking price. Cross through that. The asking price is called the starting line. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of the concept of a sealed bid auction?
No, I never heard of that.
That's when you're selling. Have you ever watched people play on TV poker and they've got the sunglasses on and they're playing poker? You ever seen that?
Yes.
When you're playing that game, do you know what the other people are holding in their hands?
I wish I did, but I don't.
No. And here's the thing. You saw this house. It's been on the market just a day and a half. The market's very hot. Do you think there's a high probability other people like it as well?
I'm pretty sure.
So you're asking me, let me give you advice on what you should offer. You ready?
What's your advice?
Offer. See, I'm saying offer. I don't want to say offer. I want your contract price to be your very best price. You only have one shot at this, you guys, Desmond. You only have one shot. You're not going to get a counter. You never hear from the seller if you're wrong. You only get one shot. What's your best? It's listed for $325. What's the best and the most willing to offer?
$350.
Now, how many agents on the phone right now are just like, you know, you're having palpitations? You want to rush in there and protect them like, oh, you're worried about appraisal. You're worried about what about all this other stuff, right? He's willing to go $350. It's listed at $325, right? That's what I said. You're $350. How many people would write it up at $350? I'm going to take you through a step to make sure you're blameless. I don't want you to say that's great, that's good, because now you're putting the good housekeeping seal of approval on it. What I want to do is, Desmond, here's the thing. What would you do if you found out that it sold for $350,000, $500,000, $350,000, $500,000? How would you feel?
I'll be upset.
Why?
Because $350 is more than enough for a property that's $325.
Well, you offered $350 and it sold for $500 more. How would you? I mean, would you now? I mean, you have the opportunity right now. If you wanted to modify, would you have modified it? Would you have gone $350,000, $1,000? Would you have done that, knowing what you know?
Knowing what I know now, yes.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. You only get one shot at this. You've got to give me your very best.
$355.
Okay.
Is it possible to do an escalation clause in there?
Now, I'm glad you asked that question. You guys want to know my opinion on escalation clauses? They might work. Your buyer has a less chance of getting the house with an escalation clause than you do with going in there with the top number anyway. Because if I'm the listing agent, Desmond, and you give me an offer of $356,000, it's listed for $325. How would you word it? How would you word the escalation clause?
What's the sum?
$356,000 with $500 higher than any other offer, with a cap of $10,000 above $356.
Okay. Now, what if there's multiple? Escalation clauses? And again, it's the wording that matters. And notice you didn't say net; it's just $500 better. So they're problematic. So assuming that I like that, and thanks for popping into your Paul.
Oh.
This is what I would do as a listing agent. Assuming that your offer was up $10,000, so I'm now losing track. So that would be 335. Say, Paul, hey, listen, I'm a listing agent. My seller is agreeing on your terms and countered at a price at 335,000, and the other terms are okay. If this is not acceptable to you, we'll counter the next one, the next offer. What would you do?
Well, let me talk to my buyer about that before you make any moves.
Okay, I got that. And so how would you explain it to your buyer?
So, Mr. Buyer, if you really want this house, you're going to have to really step up to the plate because they've got multiple offers right now. And you know the shortage of our homes are pretty low, especially in Anchorage, Alaska right now. And, you know, so I think, you know, just for a little more, I can show you a 2.8% interest with 10,000 more isn't only about $40 a month in a difference. So, you know, would you really want to move your family into this home, or do you want to lose this and start a whole nother process and take a lot of time to find another property?
A lot of different strategy in there. It's awesome, Paul. So here's my point, you guys. I just countered at 336 or whatever. Yeah, 335 or whatever it was. And the escalation clause, I didn't say I had another offer. I just countered at the top of his escalation. Mm-hmm. Now, if you are the listing agent, that's what you would do. You wouldn't counter at basically $1,000 higher than your best offer. You would counter at the top of the escalation clause.
Yeah, but I always ask for them to send a redacted version of the contract to prove that they have the other offer that we're competing against if they're going to go ahead and accept us. The other thing that I do is I always call the listing agents and I ask them, what do the sellers want, so that I can customize my offer to match what the sellers want. So then when the listing agent receives my offer, he thinks that we're already strategizing to how to please his clients.
Yeah, well, I like the fact you're in communication with the listing agent. However, if you call me and they get a redacted version and say, we're not going to provide a redacted version, this is our counter. If you're not interested, we'll go into your first. We'll go to the second one.
I just saw that happen.
So anyway, so I forgot, I didn't grab that. So the lady who just spoke. So what would you do in that scenario?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Can you counter to us for over what our max was?
No, I'm countering your max. I'm just not providing you proof that there was any other offers.
Well, I've already agreed that they'd be willing to go 10,000 over, so I'd say let's do it.
There you go. That's the point I want to get across, you guys. Here's the thing, Desmond. Thanks for asking about the escalation clause. I know it's used a lot. I'm just saying, if you want your buyers to have a better chance of getting it, you're better off just to go to that number anyway. Quit trying to save them money because really you want to own the house. So Desmond, going back, let me put a bow on this role play with you. You're willing to go to 356,000. If it's sold for 356,500, what will you do?
I would offer more.
Well, hurry up. We got to get off this call sooner or later. Get to the top.
357.
Then if it's sold for 357,500, how would you feel?
I'll have to find the next house.
There you go. That's my point, you guys. That's my point. You've got to get them where they can sleep at night, I can sleep at night. And you don't have any DNA in that number. You've got to get them to the point they're willing to lose the house. However, you're not done. There's one more thing you have to do. You're at 357, right?
Yes.
We're listed at 325.
Mm-hmm.
One more question that makes you blameless. Desmond, congratulations. Let's just assume you own the house. How does it feel to be in the house?
That feels wonderful.
Okay, 2 months after you move in, you're at Safeway or you're at, I don't know what you have around here, Cars or something, and you're at the grocery store and you see the seller of the home, two people in front of you talking to the cashier. The seller doesn't see you and you overhear this conversation. This is what the seller says. You wouldn't believe how crazy this market is. I listed my house at 325 and I sold it at 357. 357, I mean, the best offer I had other than the 357 was 330. You just overheard that conversation. How do you feel?
I wanted a house, so I did what I had to do.
You guys, you understand why you'd ask that question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I always ask my clients, how much is the house worth to you? Because I tell them that, you know, market value is going to be what a willing buyer is willing to pay for that house. And if you want this house, how much is it worth to you?
Perfect, Heather. It's perfect. And here's the thing. Yeah, I know in some markets they're not even taking appraisals. Here's the thing. I've seen agents get in the way of their buyers owning the house because they're attempting to save them a few shekels. They want the house, you guys. Let them have the house. Now, again, once they get control of the house, he got it for $357. It only appraises for $350. Is he at least in control of the house to decide what he wants to do next? Yes or yes? So, any other comments? I said we'd go an hour. Now, here's the thing. I'm gonna, I'll have these classes, and, you know, I'll let you know what the next one is. Here's the thing. If you go to Denny Grimes Mastermind, get that sheet. I have record of you guys on this class. I guess I can probably send you an email when the next one's going to be, the next one we're going to have. Anybody here interested in having another script class and we can dig deeper into more scripts, more role plays?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, definitely.
awesome, for sure.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Good. Well, I love doing this. And Paul, what company are you with, Paul?
I'm with Harrington.
Well,
I've been communicating with Barb Huntley about going to KW.
Awesome. Well, we're going to be in Anchorage tonight because we fly out to go home tonight. So thank you so much for being on the call. And I'll let you know when the next call is going to be, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Desmond.
Thank you, Denny.
Thank you.
Where are you in Alaska right now?
Wasilla.
Oh, right on. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I just sold a lot in Willow. Right on. Well, welcome to Alaska. How long you been here?
We've been here a week. Kristen's
Nice.
from here. You know, Kristen's my wife.
Oh, right on. Oh, cool. Yeah. Nice. Well, great class. I really appreciate your time, Denny. Have a good trip.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.